it really seems like we've seen a little bit of shift in the consensus as of lately, where Jahmyr Gibbs is certainly in this 101 conversation, and that's who goes here off the board first. Bijan Robinson at the 102, followed by Ja'Marr Chase, which leaves me in an interesting situation. I have had Puka Nacua as my wide receiver 1 for the entire offseason. It is a little bit closer now for me, just because I am a little concerned about some of the reporting that's coming out of Adam Schefter's way, where, hey, there's a chance of Puka Nacua not on the field for week 1 when they fly over there to the land down under. So with that said, though, until that news is official, I'm going to, back maybe arguably the best NFL team here right now. I'm also going to back who I think is, when he's out there, the best wide receiver in fantasy football. So I'm going to take Puka Nacua, but I have them in a tier where it's Puka, Chase, and JSN, which I know is somewhat controversial to a lot of people, but I'll go ahead and take Puka here at the 104, and he's followed by JSN at the 105 and Jonathan Taylor at the 106. Craze, you're up at the 107. Do you like how the board has fallen to you, and what's the move here for you with your first pick?
Yeah, I think this is kind of how you can expect the first 6 picks to go. 3 running backs, maybe 3 wide receivers, but it depends PPR, half PPR. This is full PPR, so the wide receivers obviously are going to get a bump over these running backs. And with that being said, when I'm looking at my rankings, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who should be on a good offense in Detroit, but Jameson Williams is there. He's getting worked in. I think I'm going to go maybe a little bit more risky of a pick, but I'm going to trust what Kyler Murray can do in Minnesota. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. I think he's in for a big bounce back this season. I think the volume will be there. And in the PPR league, I think that this is going to be a great pick. I would kind of look towards Christian McCaffrey, but when you can't be in training camp, you're not playing, you already have tightness in the season and everything else that's going on in the 49ers. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be the guy for me.
Okay. Yeah. Justin Jefferson goes off the board there to Craze at the 107. I should mention again, 14 rounds here, double flex, only 2 wide receivers, no kicker or defense for us today. Christian McCaffrey off the board at the 108. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 109. Probably the furthest I've seen him fall in a ton of mocks. Can't get to Steve, though, with him going 9th. CeeDee Lamb at 10. James Cook at the 11. Steve, how do you feel about the board falling to you at the 112? And what are the 2 moves you're about to make?
Well, I wish Justin Jefferson had fallen to me. I agree that Justin Jefferson is going to have a big year, and I'm with you on Christian McCaffrey being it's an even year, which is not bode well for Christian McCaffrey.
Sure.
Then there's whatever's going on with the electromagnetic field there up in San Francisco. So yeah, stay away from that. I'm surprised you didn't go with the stable, safe Amon-Ra, but Justin Jefferson is so good, and as long as JJ doesn't see the field, like, for the love of God, please spare us that. I think you made a great pick there. I do wish James Cook fell to me, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Here's what I know is that this year we have this real lack of depth at the pure, like, bell cow running back position. So with the board falling the way it did, I'm going to solidify that position here. And that's my big thing with all drafts, but especially at the turn, is you got to be willing to pivot and see what the board is presenting you. So big run of wide receivers kind of went, or it looks kind of even split. Draft for what is available and what you can't get later. I will not have an opportunity to get another bell cow running back. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look at my own rankings here, and I'm going to say, okay, give me Devon Achane at the 112. That'll move us into round 2, at which point I will then... There's some guys here that I really like, and I've actually spoken about quite a few of them, but the one that I'm most concerned about at this point is I have to take him. I don't want Drake London because he's going to have a terrible year with Tua. AJ Brown is my wide receiver 17 currently, so beware there. Give me Ashton Jeanty, though, and let me get let me get that bell cow running back. Like, you saw what just happened, though. Like, that is the thought process, is you need to have that solid running back. You need to have that position that they're getting the ball every week. They're not in a timeshare. I think Marion Hampton went way too early in this, though, and Jeremiah Love. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where maybe, consensus rankings, ADP across the board needs to check, really catch up to the Jeremiah Love injury there. I mean, I have Hampton as a top 5 back, so I don't think that's too early. I mean, I'm smashing him if I'm on that turn pretty much every single time. I'm in a 14-team league, and I was at the 110, and he came back to me middle of the second. I was super thrilled to get him there. But RB is a really solid approach from the turn. It's kind of what I've seen people doing the most, is going robust running back, because there is a gap between these first 6 wide receivers and the next set of them, right? So I think going with Ashton Jeanty and Devon Achane, it's a great start there. And then we go into Aaron Hampton at the 202, the 203 Saquon Barkley, 204 Jeremiah Love, 205 Chase Brown. And Craze, this kind of matches up with my rankings that I really do have a large group of running backs right kind of, in that beginning of the second round area, and then, kind of wide receivers filling out the back half of the second half. What about you? How do you feel like the board has fallen to you, and what's the move here? Because you are still without your RB1.
Yeah, I think I just want to talk about Steve's team real quick. I recorded a short earlier this week drafting from the 112.
Yeah, you did.
What's the strategy? You got to get your running backs. And which running backs did I take? I took Devon Achane and Ashton Jeanty at those picks as well. So it's great drafting happening over there. I was hoping, Hampton might fall to me, Brown. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Looking at, I like to play, especially when you're doing this, when everyone's drafting on the same platform, is you kind of look at the ADP, look at the rankings, whatever's on your platform, and say, okay, where can I get value now? Where can I get it later? I'm looking at the running backs that I like at this point, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe some of these guys can fall to me in the 3rd round. I'm going to start us off with 2 wide receivers, which I don't normally love to do because, as Steve said, the running backs are hard to get, but I'm going to take a gamble. I know, Steve, you said you're a little bit lower on A.J. Brown, but for me, I think that he can come in and be a productive wide receiver 1 for Drake May. So I'm going to take A.J. Brown. I have him as my wide receiver 7 currently. So I'm going to pair Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown and hope for some big things coming out of 2 maybe riskier wide receiver options.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. A.J. Brown firmly in my top 10 of my wide receiver rankings. Could it be a little bit volatile with just the type of player he is? And, if the Patriots do find themselves ahead of games, which I don't think they will as much this year with a much more difficult schedule, we shall see. But, just on paper, you would think the connection of Drake May, one of the young and upcoming quarterbacks, with a great steady wide receiver 1 out there, and A.J. Brown could lead us to a Stephon Diggs type of season like we saw his first year in Buffalo. So don't hate that at all. The next 2 picks going off the board in between Craze and myself, we have Drake London and Kenneth Walker III. So this is kind of a pressure point for me in this draft. I do have, like, my highest available player in my rankings is George Pickens. However, I have him kind of grouped in with another 3-pack of wide receivers that I'd be happy to have as my wide receiver 2, with getting Puka as that 1. So for me, I just have to take a player that I wouldn't I'm not jumping out of my seats for, and it is higher than in my overall rankings, and I prefer to take him at 21 overall. However, I think just based on the tier cliff coming, give me Derrick Henry, a guy who's going to be in a high-powered Baltimore offense, a guy who's going to fall into the touch or end zone and touchdown department probably 12 to 16 times this season. Anytime you have a guy on your team that's, going to have minus odds every single week to score a touchdown, that's something I value. Could it maybe go sideways if Baltimore finds themselves trailing in more games again this season? And of course, he's probably not going to be overly involved in the pass game. Absolutely. They did bring in Adam Randall from Clemson to handle some of those duties. At the same time, though, I think Derrick Henry is just someone I trust. There's going to be bad weeks, but I think having Puka as that wide receiver 1 is going to give me the option to, pivot if I need to, and to find points elsewhere if there is a bad Derrick Henry week coming my way. To end out the second round here, now we have Brock Bowers, Chris Olave, and Rashee Rice. We move into then round 3, where we have Nico Collins, Trey McBride, and Malik Neighbors. Guys, I'm really bummed out about how this board fell to me, to be honest with you. I was hoping if I didn't get Malik Neighbors, it would be a Rashee Rice type of thing for me. But I have George Pickens again, who I have very high top 10 wide receiver again for me. I want to attach myself to high-powered offenses, and while Dallas's defense will be a little bit better than a year ago, I think getting GP, a guy who went well over 1,200 yards, 1,400 yards for that matter, and is a great touchdown target every single week for Dak Prescott. Do I think he regresses some? Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's still worth the price tag here at the 304, giving me my second wide receiver there. So love that. Josh Allen off the board next. Kyron Williams, who has been jumping up rankings as well, off the board at 306. Craze, is this the spot where you go with your first running back, or are you continuing to pound away at the wide receiver position?
Normally, I would go look towards the running back position here. I have a group of guys where I'm like, whether it's this guy or the other guy, I don't particularly care. I think that there's some guys ranked lower. I was hoping, based on the draft board, maybe Henry would make it back towards me. I figured if anyone was going to take him, it was going to be you, and you did. So that part is unfortunate. When I'm looking at my rankings now, kind of looking at, we have a double flex situation. So it's not like I can't start 3 wide receivers. I can start 4 wide receivers every week. So in this case, with a PPR, I don't hate starting with 3 wide receivers. Obviously, the running back depth, we're going to have to deal with that later. But I think there are still some great guys available. So I'm looking, and this is going to be a guy that I took earlier in my 112 mock. I'm really high on Tetairoa McMillan.
Yes.
I think that him being the number 1, hopefully Bryce continues to, if people, one rough preseason game, people forget how good Bryce was near the end of last year, how good he looked in the playoffs. I think that this offense continues to take a step forward once the offensive line is healthy. He was missing his 2 top guards and his tackles in the preseason game, so it was a little rough. The tackles hopefully can work themselves back, and the guards should be ready for the season. So I'm going to take Tetairoa McMillan. We're going to start 3 wide receivers, and I think this is going to be a great addition to my team.
Yeah, we're also hearing the news out of Charlotte right now that Tetairoa McMillan also going to play more in the slot this season. He was only playing the slot about 15 to 18% of the time a year ago. So now he's moving into a position that's friendly for a smaller, shorter quarterback like Bryce Young, that he doesn't have to reach entirely across the field to get to him. So yeah, I'm very in on Tetairoa McMillan as a top 12 wide receiver, as a top 36 overall pick as well. Devonta Smith comes off the board at the 308, the 309, Josh Jacobs, followed by Ladd McConkey, and the second quarterback off the board, Lamar Jackson. Steve, you started out running back. Is this where you get your first wide receiver, or do you just continue to ground and pound at the RB position?
I would have loved to have ground and pounded a little bit more if Jacobs had fallen one more pick. He didn't. So we are going to move right into our wide receiver rankings here, because I am pulling up my own little cheat sheet here about who I would pick based on my overall rankings. And I got 2 guys in my pocket. Now, again, I mentioned you probably have to reach a little bit when it comes to these positions.
Sure.
So first guy we'll take is the preseason darling out of Chi-Town and soon to be Indiana, it appears. Give me Luther Burden the third.
Ooh. Even with the injury, you're not concerned about
Not worried. And then I mentioned at the start of the show that I had this guy ranked super high. You mentioned Stephon Diggs in his first year with Josh Allen. Well, we've got a guy who's just as good as Stephon Diggs in his first year with Josh Allen. Give me DJ Moore.
Oh, I'm going to be honest, Steve. I don't like those picks at all. Like for you waiting, I think there are just much more safer options, the Garrett Wilsons, the T. Higgins of the world, right, that I would prefer as those wide receiver ones. But, going for broke here at the turn is Stephen Lawson.
Here's the thing with like Garrett Wilson, right? Like we want Garrett Wilson to be one thing, and he's been something else entirely. And now he's stuck with Geno Smith and stuck with Aaron Glenn again. Like, Aaron Glenn should not be a coach in the NFL, number one. Like, he should be fired and then kicked out of the league forever. And Geno Smith is just a horrendous quarterback. But I said, you have to reach for your guys. And I have currently Luther Burden and DJ Moore are currently my wide receiver 11 and 13. There was no one on the board left that I was willing to take ahead of them because I had missed out on Ted. I had missed out on Neighbors. I had missed out on Pickens. Like, they went. So I'm like, you know what? I will take my guys, plant your flag. That's the thing about fantasy football is ADP is nice, but you got to go with your gut. Win or lose based on your own decisions. And that's the fun of the game.
Okay. Javonte Williams off the board at the 402. And then we move into Breece Hall at the 403, Garrett Wilson at the 404, and T. Higgins at the 405. Craze, you're back on the clock here. Is this where you go with your first running back?
This is going to be where I take my first running back. I was hoping Javonte was going to fall to me here. He would have been a great value. I think that he's going to be in for a lot of volume in Dallas. Instead, I'm going to go with the guy that I know you like a lot, Seth.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins here at my pick. I need someone who's going to get volume. And although the offense might not be amazing as a whole this year, with whatever quarterback Cleveland decides to throw out there, I think Quinshon Judkins is by far is their RB1. I think he is one of the few bell cow type backs that's left. He can do it all on the field. So I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins as my RB1.
Okay. Yeah, that one hurt a little bit, but I don't mind how the board fell back to me. Zay Flowers comes off the board next at the 407. Colston Loveland at the 408, the third tight end. And guys, I'm in a pretty big rock and a hard place because there are a lot of wide receivers that I love a lot on the board right now. And I can tell the audience, because we'll play this exercise out in real time. I need to get an RB2. I want to have an RB2, especially with not having a lot of PPR upside there in Derrick Henry. I feel a little bit desperate at this point because I really like, Judkins has kind of been that ace of my whole fifth round, right? That I've kind of been able to go after. He's off the board right now. And there's one running back that I feel really safe about, and it's Cam Scatterboo. I'm not worried about Najee. I really could care less, to be honest. I think that says more about, Tyrone Tracy getting blown up in a pass blocking rep and Jackson Dart having to go in the blue tent because of it. So I do like Cam Scatterboo here, but also Jalen Waddle and Emeka Egbuka specifically do not usually get back to me in the fourth round here. I think Emeka Egbuka is in for an absolutely just ginormous, huge year here. That being said, I already have two wide receivers. I think I do have to go with Cam Scatterboo, who I do have about 8 or 9 spots lower than Emeka Egbuka in my rankings. I'm going to hope that Waddle or Emeka Egbuka get back to me, but I'm going to take Scatterboo here and see how the board plays out. And not like I wanted at all. Absolutely blown up here. Emeka Egbuka at the 410. Travis Etienne or Achane at the 411. Terry McLaurin at the 412.